and welcome to National Focus. I am Adicia Burton. In the headlines, Division of Culture launches 2023 Emancipation Celebrations. Fishery folk called upon to ensure safety of assets. And Dive Fest returns after 5-year hiatus. The details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. The Division of Culture has officially launched the 2023 Emancipation Celebrations on June 28 at the Old Mill Cultural Center. The opening of the 2023 Emancipation Celebrations immediately kicked off with a craft exhibition featuring the creativity of Dominican artisans. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister for Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, Honorable Greta Roberts, says the Emancipation Celebrations promote greater consciousness of our history and understanding the origin of our culture.
Just last month, we celebrated the Dominica Festival of Arts, Domfesta, and today we launch Emancipation 2023. Many have asked, why celebrate something likened to the most dreaded part of our existence? The fact remains that this is our story. These are our roots and cannot be forgotten as we seek to build a greater consciousness among the people of our regions. Today's celebration, therefore, is an understanding of why we do the things we do, the foods we eat, the clothes that we wear, the dances, the music, the languages. In fact, today reminds us of our culture.
Minister Roberts spoke of the expected positive influence of the 2023 Emancipation Celebrations.
As we embark on this year's Emancipation Day celebrations, we intend to promote understanding, to foster dialogue, and to inspire positive change through our many activities, events, and programs planned. We open today with our craft exhibition, as we remember the skilled craftsmen of the past. Over the years, emphasis has been placed on fine art, but today we highlight our craft makers and showcase their talent and skills through their beautiful creations.
She says the Emancipation Celebrations for 2023 will include other activities hosted by the Cultural Division.
In celebration of our triumphs, we feature other events by the Cultural Division, as well as independent promoters and cultural stakeholders, a time for education and empowerment. We have organized a series of events surrounding the establishment of the Kalinago territory, bearing in mind their contribution made towards our emancipation. We also have Calypso Day, the Pan in Harmony concert, the Emancipation Lecture Series in collaboration with the University of the West Indies, Open Campus. Lawon Abalalin.
The prestigious Golden Drum Awards is the marquee event of the Emancipation Celebrations.
The Golden Drum Award ceremony and concert. The Golden Drum is the most prestigious award by the Cultural Division, given to individuals who have significantly contributed in the fields of arts and culture for 20 years or more. These individuals are nominated by the general public, staff of the Cultural Division, and the National Cultural Council. Such is our richness as it relates to culture, and there is never a shortage of nominees. The Division of Culture and the National Cultural Council have always had the arduous task of making the final selection So I assure you, especially those who have not made the selection, that your time will come.
Meanwhile, President of the Dominica Arts and Craft Producers Association, Vanessa Lisa Winston, spoke of the importance of embracing our identity as a people.
Let us not forget where our tradition, some of our tradition came from, because our tradition, our craft, the talent that we have inherited have been passed down to us through our ancestors. And it is a blend of the Kalinago Indians and the Maroons or the Negmawa that live within our island. Dominica was the second strongest Negmawa population in the Caribbean, and that we should be proud of. A lot of us, we tend to turn our head from the word Negmawa, but Negmawa is who we are, because we are Maroons. That is what we are, in the blend of Kalinago.
The Honorable Minister Roberts invites the public to participate in the 2023 Emancipation Celebration activities. Here are a few highlights of the craft exhibition from June 28. Adicia Burton for the Government Information Service. Fisherfolk in Dominica are being encouraged to ensure the safety of their assets, particularly during the hurricane season. The advice has come from Minister of State with responsibility for fisheries, Honorable Julian Defoe. Minister Defoe wants fishers to ensure that assets are secured at all times and to take heed of all safety measures advised by authorities.
And not just only boats and engine, especially passive and active fishing gears like nets and fish pots, usually that are set out. And in the past, we have seen fishers choosing to leave this gear out, and then you might find that even if we may have full force of a hurricane, but sea conditions may be so adverse that they lose this gear. So going forward, I want to really applaud the fishers for taking heed of government notices. And for Hurricane Brett, we saw island-wide fishers took measures. The Fisheries Division was actively involved and in spreading the message. So not only relying on official communication from the media, but the officers being on the ground and ensuring that fishers are taking action. And I mean, you cannot have any better action than that to make sure that they do what they have to do. And so we saw both on the East Coast and the West Coast, preparation taken to the max for fishers to secure their assets.
Government has made significant investments in the fisheries sector over the years, many a times post-disasters.
While we may speak of Hurricane Maria, but government did equal investment as was done for Maria in two previous hurricanes, and which were not so long ago. In 2007, we had Hurricane Dean. Tremendous loss on the East Coast, and government assisted fishers 100%. Again, in 2008, we had Oma, tremendous devastation to the fishing sector. While it may not have affected other sector, but to the fishing sector on the West Coast, again, government stepped in and gave 100% compensation to fishers. And then if we move on to some impacts in Erica, where assistance were given also, and moving into Maria. So this is tremendous amount of support government has put into the fisheries sector post-disaster.
Government is also exploring other areas to cement resilience in the fisheries sector.
The economic situations globally has become a bit more difficult, and we may not always have the capacity to keep injecting and time again into the fishing sector, reinstating the fishing sector in terms of personal assets. So the government is going to take on some new measures going forward. Such as insurance facilities, be it similar to what we have with the CRIF for tropical cyclones and heavy rainfalls. We will have to move into these sort of directions, and also fishers may have to look into their own personal liabilities, such as insurance. Of course, it is something that has been looked at for a very long time, but the constraints are there, and we have to work through it, such as the premiums are very high because of the high risk and so on. But these are challenges that we will go through. But on a national level, government will look at insurance schemes, to enable to assist the state in the event that we have any major catastrophic loss.
Special Envoy in the Office of the Prime Minister, Dr. Kenneth Daru, is looking forward to the process of public consultations on electoral modernization. Dr. Daru has been appointed to lead electoral modernization efforts in Dominica. The process moves forward now that the report from Sir Dennis Byron has been received and made public.
First of all, I'd really like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for giving me this opportunity. As you know, this is an appointment that was done some 6 months ago, immediately after the last election. And we've only now kicked it off because, as you know, that the final report from Sir Dennis Byron was received just about a week or so ago. So it's something I'm looking forward to. Actually, it's a challenge that I think I'm up to the task. I'm looking forward to meeting with all the different stakeholders, the different political parties, the civil society, and all the interest groups, because the Prime Minister said he wants the final outcome of this exercise to be one of Dominican and not one of any one political group or one interest group or one group in civil society. As I said, I'm always up for challenges. Challenges is part of my DNA. And of course, in due time, I will be able to sit with GIS, of course, to give a more detail as to what the schedule is going to be like and how it's going to be done.
Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Public Service Union, Mr. Thomas Leighton, has welcomed the report on electoral modernization from Sir Dennis. Mr. Leighton says the PSU is looking forward to public consultations.
The union is one of the organizations that was calling for electoral reform. Now that the report is been made public, we have received copies of the report. We are going to sit as an executive meeting, and do a thorough review of the document, and then we will make our observation, our recommendations, and we are prepared to be part of whatever consultation that will be taking place.
Mr. Leighton says his union will play its part in public consultations on electoral modernization.
We really thought that this process would have been more advanced than it is. But however, there are circumstances, it was explained before, that there were issues with Sir Byron not being able to present a report at the appropriate time. So I have not given a lot of thoughts to the timeline, but I really believe that the thing needs to be hastened, and we should not allow too much time once this consultation is completed.
Are you going to engage in public consultation?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with such a report, we will share it, as I said, discuss among our executive, and then discuss with our members at the appropriate time.
Public consultations on electoral modernization are expected to begin next month. You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. The Ministry of Tourism, through the Discover Dominica Authority, has called on the public to show support to the return of Dive Fest. This is the first hosting of Dive Fest in 5 years. Presented by the Ministry of Tourism and the Soufriere Escorts Head Village Council, the festival aims to raise awareness of Dominica's amazing marine life as a tourism product. Minister for Tourism, Honorable Dennis Charles, says Dive Fest has always been a major tourist attraction for the South, as it gives the communities the opportunity to showcase their marine reserves and water sport activities.
I want to welcome everyone to join us as we celebrate Dive Festival this weekend in Soufriere. Actually, the decision to have Dive Fest came about because since Hurricane Maria, there has not been Dive Fest, which was a festival in the summer month, which brought a lot of visitors to Dominica, and it was a way to showcase our water sports activities, free diving, scuba diving, and to highlight the importance of the marine reserves that we have in the country. Because the Water Sports Association is inactive, the Ministry of Tourism, in collaboration with some key stakeholders in the Soufriere constituency, decided to host Dive Fest 2023, collaborating with the owners of the free diving competition, which is taking place right now as we speak in Soufriere.
One of the major events happening this year at Dive Fest is the free diving competition, which runs from June 21st to 30th. More than 20 athletes from 10 different countries arrived in Soufriere to train and participate in this competition. Minister Charles says she looks forward to the growth of this competition as she believes that its development will augur well for her constituency.
I'm inviting patrons to come to Soufriere for the weekend. We have free diving, as I said, going on every day. So if you want to witness free diving, you can do so. And they dive in the morning. We had educational sessions with students, educating them about the marine reserve and the importance of protecting. And you know, we so much talk about the blue economy. We have a serious potential in Dominica and whole in our coastal reserves. And especially for my constituency, we already have the protected marine reserve, and we're looking to see how we can explore further opportunities of growth utilizing the blue economy. Free diving is one such opportunity.
Numerous activities will take place over the weekend to include water sport activities for individuals and teams.
Friday we'll have in the end of the Dive Festival week, and so we'll be having Triple K and some unstoppable DJs, and we'll have a big festival with fish. Well, you know, the best fish on island can be found in Soufriere. On Saturday, we have the corporate sports, where we'll have kayaking races, PPW races, and we'll also be teaching people who are interested in learning how to kayak. We'll be giving some free lessons. So on Saturday, you can bring the family. We're hoping to have it once the weather holds up. We're hoping to have water sports activities. We'll have some water sports games. So bring the family up. We are inviting groups to register with Dominica Festivals Commission. Mrs. Walsh, you can contact her, and you can register as a group to partake in any of the races on Saturday. And on Sunday, we'll be celebrating the Feast of St. Peter's, which starts with a church service at 10 a.m. at the Soufriere Catholic Church. And thereafter, in the evening, from about 5 p.m., we have another grand event with Ecstasy Band, the First Serenade, DJ Shysta, DJ Driggs, and Unstoppable DJs.
Dive Fest was first launched in 1994 and is the first and longest running event of its kind in the region. The Office of Disaster Management is partnering with the International Tsunami Information Center Caribbean Office to implement a Tsunami Ready recognition program primarily in Portsmouth. Julian Morris reports.
The program is initiated internationally by UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission and regionally by the International Tsunami Information Center Caribbean Office. Mrs. Christa G. von Hildebrandt Andrade is Deputy Director of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and has been studying tsunamis, earthquakes and volcanoes throughout her career as a geologist. Mrs. von Hildebrandt, who is also manager of UNESCO's International Tsunami Information Center in West Puerto Rico, has been in Dominica this week, working on a tsunami readiness plan for Portsmouth. Dominica's visit is part of a wider Caribbean tour to include St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I'm visiting Dominica as part of what we call a Tsunami Ready tour, and it's part of a project that we have funded by USAID to advance and implement the UNESCO IOC Tsunami Ready recognition program in these 3 countries. We've already done it in other countries. For example, it's been done working in Barbados and in St. Kitts and Nevis, in Anguilla, in the British Virgin Islands, obviously Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands. So now we're focused right now on the Tsunami Ready program in these 3 countries.
Mrs. von Hildebrandt Andrade explained how the system works and how Portsmouth or any community is selected for tsunami readiness activities. She says there are 12 indicators.
The first indicator is to identify the hazard, to assess the hazard for the region. So once Dominica decided that it would like to be part of the Tsunami Ready project, the first thing that we did was contract a tsunami hazard assessment for all of Dominica. And so the authorities of Dominica, once they received the results from that tsunami hazard assessment, which indicated the level of tsunami threat for different areas of Dominica, And this, they decided that they would like to do the first implementation of Tsunami Ready in Portsmouth, which was one of the areas that through this study showed there could be tsunami inundation. Also, there are other areas at risk from tsunamis, especially on the East Coast. This assessment showed that there were there were areas at risk on the East Coast, but then Portsmouth in the Northwest was an area that they identified that would benefit from the implementation of the Tsunami Ready program.
The Tsunami Readiness Program is being tackled on 3 levels: assessment, preparedness, and response.
In the area of assessment, would have said that a tsunami hazard assessment was done for all of Dominica, and in that assessment we would have established what are the inundation areas, the areas that could be inundated, flooded by tsunamis, but also we assessed the travel times that it would take for a tsunami to arrive to different points in Dominica, and also we would have assessed currents that could be generated from tsunamis in the nearby coastal waters. Part of assessment, we're also, now that we've identified those regions, and now specifically that we're working on the program in Portsmouth, then we have to need to assess the number of people and the vulnerability of Portsmouth per se. So how many people live there, and identify if there are people with special needs, or there's special stakeholders, for example, the fishermen, that would need to be engaged in the process.
In addition to identifying the vulnerabilities of a particular community, resources needed in order to respond and to create awareness of tsunamis must be identified.
They have a disaster risk reduction committee, they have a fire station, they have a hospital, they have a police station. So how are these resources, they have a mayor with all her council members, how will all those be able to provide? So those are part of the discussions. In the second steps, we'll be focusing on, they already have been doing a lot of work on this, is on the preparedness side. So now that we know the areas that can be inundated by a tsunami, the next step will be doing an evacuation map for Portsmouth. And eventually we want to do that for all the at-risk communities in Dominica, but we're doing an evacuation map as part of the project for Portsmouth. Also put up signage, so eventually people will start to see signs in Portsmouth that indicate this is a tsunami hazard zone, and these are safe zones or assembly areas, so people can distinguish where I'm at threat and where I would be safe and have to go in case of an emergency.
There will also be development and distribution of outreach and education materials, as well as events to sensitize the community on this type of hazard.
They'll be doing an exercise as part of their preparedness activities to test that evacuation map. Is it suitable? How long does it take us to evacuate and get that type of number? So that will be done as part of an exercise or part of the next Kariba Wave exercise, an exercise that we do every year. And then in the third area, to be recognized by UNESCO IOC as a tsunami ready community, you have to then also have a response mechanism in place. You know, tsunamis are extremely fast onset events. In our study, it showed that there could be areas in Dominica that in as little as 5 minutes could start being flooded by a tsunami after an earthquake. Other areas, it could take 20 minutes, it could be even 40 minutes, up to an hour in some areas, but there could be very little time. So we want to make sure that the community has those emergency response measures in place.
Implementation activities in Dominica are being funded by the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research in the United States. Julian Morris for the Government Information Service.
Thank you, Julian, for that report. A few weeks after Kavem Hodge and Alec Athanas made their debut for the West Indies in one-day international cricket, the government of Dominica has appointed them as sports ambassadors for the country. Daryl Tidd has more.
The third match of the West Indies tour of the United Arab Emirates in June 2023 marked a significant milestone in the cricketing careers of two young Dominicans. This as Dominicans Alec Athanas and Kavem Hodge took to the field for the West Indies team, the first time that two Dominican nationals were part of the West Indies playing 11 at the same time. Kavem had made his debut earlier in the three-match series, while Alec was playing in his first international game. The hearts of a cricket-loving nation were filled with joy and with expectations high ahead of the Indian tour of the region next month, Dominicans are looking forward to more great things from these two young men. The government of Dominica has recognized the contributions and potential of the two young men and have appointed them sports ambassadors for the country.
These are two young men who are now in the prime and who are making us proud with the selection on the West Indies cricket team, and who we believe have a very bright future. And I believe it is absolutely important that we as a country provide them with the support, the requisite support that they need in order to keep them balanced and focused on the game of cricket and harnessing their talent, and so that they can be entrenched on the team, on the West Indies cricket team.
It is hoped that the success of Alec and Kavem will serve as inspiration to young sportsmen and women.
We would also want them to serve as motivators to other aspiring sportsmen and sportswomen, boys and girls in the primary and secondary schools and colleges of Dominica. And so we're very proud of them as a government, and we would like to let them know in a very clear and distinct manner that we are with them and we are there to support them and to encourage them.
The appointment as sports ambassadors comes with certain perks.
They will be issued today, Tuesday, the 27th of June, with diplomatic passports to facilitate their travels through the various ports of entry across the world. And they will also be provided with an allowance, a monthly allowance, for their local upkeep.
The West Indies will play India in a test match beginning July 12 at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium.
We're looking forward to, if not both, at least one being selected for the India versus the West Indies test match in Dominica in July. We are very confident that both, certainly one, will be selected to play in Dominica, and I think we're all looking for this. Not only Dominicans looking forward for this, but West Indies supporters, especially with the recent performances of the West Indies cricket team, and people recognizing that these two young men have tremendous talent, and there's no reason why they ought not to be on the team. I think certainly they'll be selected for the test match, India versus the West Indies.
Both Kavem and Alec are thankful for the support of the government of Dominica and the Dominican public.
I was very happy with the way that myself and Alec was able to represent Dominica. You know, we're a proud country. I mean, it's only, 80,000 people here, but, you know, we enjoy sports. We love sports. And everybody, you know, we're a community of sporting individuals. So to see the well wishes and the support that we got from everybody during and even after the series, it was amazing. It was very heartwarming, you know, the comments and, you know, the shares and the posts and everything that everybody was sending us. You know, it was really heartwarming, and I'm just happy that I was able to, you know, represent my country in the way that I did, and, you know, we're happy with the way that things went.
I would count myself fortunate, very fortunate, because not many have done it. But it's obviously a good feeling to know that your people are behind you, no matter what you do, no matter if you perform, you know, especially if you perform. So it was a very good feeling knowing that I have the backing of Dominica.
Thank you, Daryl, for that report. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I am Adicia Burton. Thanks for watching.